Back.
Thanks
Y'all
for
already
having
know
me.
we got Sonnie Johnson in the building. Dang, y'all stepping all over the open. Thanks, Marcus. Good job. But Sonnie Johnson deserves congratulations for being brought back from the dead on Twitter world. We're gonna get into
my
it.
first time, yo.
I know. I've had it happen to me too. Aquarian Anarchy back at it again. Sonnie Johnson is back. We'll be right back. Localization. Once one concedes that a single world government is not necessary, then where does one logically stop at the permissibility of separate states? If Canada and the United States can be separate nations without being denounced as in a state of impermissible anarchy, why may not the South secede from the United States, New York State from the Union, New York City from the state? Why not Manhattan? Wait, man, I'm sucking at this. Why may not Manhattan secede? I blame Rothbard. He wrote this crappy. Each neighborhood, each block, each house, each person. And Marcus, of course, is going to stir the pot with Sonnie with that quote. So we are going to get into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's all kinds of craziness going on in the world. There's some grifting, there's some trolling, there's some legit weird shit going on in some races, and midterms are cooking up. You know, the political nonsense is going to be on a million, and we are here to break it down to keep everybody grounded and level so that they can do the work that they need to do to make sure that they secure their future. And there's nobody better to help instruct and inform that conversation than our guest tonight, Sonnie Johnson. Welcome back.
What's up? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, indeed.
For those of you that missed the first time that Sonnie was on here, it was epic. She delivered, one of the things when we were promoting this, one of the things that I noticed is she gets attacked. And this is because I've had a chance over the last couple of years to really get to know her. She gets attacked from the left. She gets attacked from the right. I'm like, y'all need to just shut the fuck up and let this woman talk, because I'm an anarchist and I have learned a boat ton from this woman. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut up and let her take class over.
That's right. So we were in a space for a while yesterday talking about this whole Kanye Candace, the White Lives Matter shirt and everything. And we got into, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. So I don't want to really rehash that. I would just send everybody back to, because you recorded that spaces. It's on your page. Go to Sonnie's Twitter page and you can find it there if you want to go through that stuff. But
it was one note on my notebook that was left unsaid. So if you would permit me, I could go ahead and put on that one note that was on my notebook that I forgot.
Absolutely.
I also forgot to bring up the irony of talking about Black Lives Matter being a scam while you were standing next to Blexit, which is also a scam. If we're going by the metrics of, I haven't seen you build a school, I ain't seen no Blexit school either. If we go, what metric exactly is it that we're judging which organizations are scams and which ones aren't? Because you might want to be careful about who you stand next to when you want to call other people a scam artist. But that was just the one note that was left on my notebook that we didn't talk about.
That's a really good one, and it's interesting that you say that, because earlier today, just minutes ago, Maj had someone going back and forth with him over some of the stuff that he was talking about, and this poor girl. Oh, did he delete it? He might have deleted it. Okay, he might have deleted his tweet, or she deleted her tweet. But she was basically saying, I'm a white person, but I'm just assuming that if a white person got shot by a cop, that they were probably doing something causing trouble. Otherwise, the cops wouldn't have shown up in the first place. And my response to that was, Daniel Shaver's family has entered the chat. Because people got to recognize, there's stories that this stuff, and it doesn't get some of the same media play because it doesn't serve the same, political goals that some of the media conglomerates want to put out there. But the reality of the matter is we actually share a disgust, or we should anyway, a disgust and a distaste for over policing and police brutality that goes unchecked, whether we're white or black. And you can't just say, oh, well, I have to be able to play along with the GOP party line and crap on these dead bodies because it doesn't fit my political stance, when there's white people getting shot down by cops too, and you don't even know about it because nobody will tell you, because it doesn't fit that narrative. And we could actually come together and say some shit needs to be done differently. And instead, people want to just score political points.
Well, let me play devil's advocate. You know what I'm saying? Since I'm here. If you look at the statistics for most of the cops that are killed, most of the cops that are killed are not killed by us. So if you want to look at definitively why cops might be more aggressive with white people, it might be because the statistics show that y'all are the ones that are more likely to kill them. You see how like this is what is done continuously over and over, to be able to take statistics and kind of point out and make whatever point relevant that you want to be relevant. And we have an understanding of that in a much better way than conservatives do, because we've had to recognize that we didn't have the ability to overlook it. We had to be like, why are the stats saying this when in my community I'm seeing this? Like, why is it that what they're presenting in this political world as a picture of Black America is not necessarily said picture? Or why is maybe percentages of our population which are in dire straits and actually do need to be focused on, while they made at the forefront of everything in who we are and what we are, how we maneuver and how we think. So I'm always going to try to use the opportunity to be like, look at this in a way that connects us. And that doesn't mean us parroting the same talking points and stereotypes. No, it's about having an understanding. See how it was so easy for me to flip the statistics and make white people at the center of the problem. How many years have white people listened to those statistics that put us at the center of the problem? Yep. That didn't put government at the center of the problem. That didn't put progressive ideology at the center of the problem. That didn't look at regulation, taxation, and legislation and say, hey, look, this is the problem, but it specifically centered on us. And I'm like, it is expected of me to not want to have this caliber of conversation. And I said something on the live that's sticking with me. And usually I don't remember anything after when I finish. Like when I finish, whatever I said. Sure. You know what I'm saying? I'll stand on it. I believe it to be true. But this concept that I'm going to treat white people like equals. I'm going to treat you like my equal. That means you better intellectually get your ass up to my level of communication. Sure. Because what you want me to do is come down to your level, and I don't play with the pigs in the mud. You know what I'm saying? I've gotten to a point in life where that's not acceptable for me. Now, I have some people in the squad that'll start at zero and entertain you. But the queen ain't gonna do that. So now it needs to be, if you are going to engage in these conversations, either come with some humility and ask some questions, which I'm always glad to answer, or get your intellect up, get your level of conversation up, get off the low-hanging fruit, stop with the regurgitation, forget about your talking points, abandon all your stereotypes. Because seriously, I've said this once, I will continue to say it. If you look at me and you see Black female with a little ghetto on the side and I don't have to take her seriously, you're doing that at your own risk. You know what I'm saying? You're putting yourself in that position. So I'll leave it to you to do that. Like, be my guest. But the consequences of operating in that manner, instead of knowing who you're addressing and the content at hand, that's going to put you in a lot of trouble, not me. And I'm not going to back off of it because you're white and somebody hurt your feelings back in the day. Like, no, get out of my face. Bring that intellect up and have these serious conversations, or catch it. And that's just where I am right now.
Absolutely. You know, when people talk about, and this is going back to Martin Luther King Jr., when they talk about content and character, it's not just, you know, do you talk a certain way? Do you have a certain manner about you? That's not what he was talking about. You should judge people based on what they bring to the table. And you're absolutely right. These people that they just want to say, you just one of them there conservatives, and you just, you know, that's bullshit. Doesn't matter what you title yourself. I'm an anarchist, but yet I see a lot of the things that you talk about as truth. I don't give a damn what you title yourself. I don't care. Truth is truth. And so you're right. If it is challenging anything that I say, anything that I feel, anything that I believe, it is my duty to my own intellect to bring that up, to go, okay, why did this not make sense? Why was I not delivering what I needed to do? And we should be expecting that, particularly of each other, but also I don't believe in electoral politics, but let's be clear. Trump was way better than Biden. I don't give a damn who you are, where you're coming from. That's a demonstrable fact. So if you're going to have people that you elect to office, they damn well better be able to keep up with Sonnie Johnson, because they're the people that are representing people like Sonnie Johnson.
Content and character coming from the right is bullshit. Right? I have said this for a long time. Content and character coming from the right is bullshit. All it is an attempt to make Black people shut up, right? So if I say, or if a white person says to me, I judge on the content of your character and not the color of your skin, then I'm supposed to somehow feel ashamed because I want to look at localized politics within Black communities and figure out how to solve them at the local level where they have the most effect on the people. All of a sudden that makes me, what now? Like, excuse me? So immediately I go and I'll ask, okay, tell me the defects of my character.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I think that's how you get at that there's underlying racism that you're dealing with.
No, you can't say that. You can't say that it's racism.
Why not?
Because look how they're bending over backwards for Herschel Walker. It's not racism. Both of us are Black. One of us gets one kind of treatment, and one of us gets a different kind of treatment. My character is brought into question and put at the forefront. My integrity is put at the forefront, constantly questioned, constantly insulted. But Herschel Walker, who is Black, comes along. I don't even want to make it like an assassination of his character because he did a good job of that on his own.
Shout out to Christian.
But they're not judging on the content of his character.
Right.
They're judging on the power behind him winning.
You're right.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
My character, and yet still, you haven't told me what is defunct about my character.
Yeah.
No, what it is.
Told me the problem with my argument.
The problem is it's a threat.
With me the hypocrisy that might lay in my principles. You've discussed nothing of substance with me. You brought nothing up, just questioning my character. And so you can't say that it's racism, because it's not racism. You got two perfectly good examples of Black people with two different set of circumstances, and it's one of them that tap dances, and then the other one refuses to kiss your ass. And that's what the difference is. And until this is the thing about that, I don't blame conservatives for feeling the way that they feel about, okay, we need this Tennessee. Because I'm like on some, we need this fucking Tennessee. Like I'm on that same type of understanding. But you have to admit you fucked up with Herschel Walker. You have to understand you messed this up because you were not listening to Black conservatives that were telling you, and this is a train wreck. Like you got tingles up your leg right now, but soon it's gonna become an itch somewhere else. Now y'all got that itch, and you want us to come along and scratch it. Are you like going back to my initial thing, homie? Y'all got to come up. Like I see you as equal, so you need to come up because this is some infantile behavior that you're exhibiting right now, and expecting a grown ass woman to participate in this level of immaturity is an insult to my character. So if you want to judge some shit, judge me accordingly, and then bring your game up to meet that judgment. And let's play that way if this is the way our little work games are going to go, and principles don't actually matter. Character means nothing at all. And you sit back thinking you're so self-righteous at the top of it all. And it's just exposing you as clowns and frauds and unprincipled people. And the exact same reason, the reason that we are getting the government that we currently have, because it's a bunch of spineless, feckless people that stand on nothing, and then wonder why every time a wave crashes on the sea, all they do is lose sand under their weak foundations. It's insulting. It's a waste of time, and it's time that we do not have to be wasted.
So absolutely.
What do you do in the times that you start to, like, I guess, play on your character? What do you do to overcome it while you're in that situation, specifically dealing with,
ridicule? Because you know who the fuck you're talking to? Like like, no, you're gonna get ridicule. It goes back to Frederick Douglass. I'm gonna give you ridicule. I'm going to give you scorching irony. I'm going to make it hurt. And that's it, because we don't have time to continue. We don't have time to continue to play. And you don't have to like me. I really don't care if you like me or not like that. And everybody, I guess, has kind of figured that out. I really don't give a damn. But there is a mission at hand. And people like us are going to have to make sure we insert our voices into it and pick your battles wisely, because not everybody is worth your time. And it took me a little bit of time to realize that. But yeah, ridicule. I mean, it's no point in taking them serious when they're not serious people. And
yeah, John Lennon said something similar. Most people focus on the part of the quote where he talks about government and that they understand violence, but he also said they don't understand humor. H.L. Mencken, who's one of my heroes, if you ever get a chance to read him, he is just scathing. And Voltaire was the same. These people, these real intellectual revolutionaries, are just like what you're talking about, able to just throw that ridicule right back into their face and be like, okay, well, show me where you're doing your shit. One of the things that you've talked about today was that where are these people out working? Like Chad was saying earlier, where are the people out working? Where are the people who want to show up at their local town or council or whatever and work on it there? Where are they building?
No, you have politicians that say, "I'll fight for you."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you create a population that doesn't fight for themselves, and like that's where we are. And right now you have still, like, everything's going on. You still have a sleeping Republican population, and they're still asleep because they're like, well, Trump is going to come back and Trump is going to say, like, they still have not woken up to the fact that no, it's going to be you saving yourself. Like, nobody is coming to save you. Whether Trump gets back into office or not, regardless of that fact, it doesn't matter. In the end, it's going to be us taking over locally and starting to change some of these things that is going to be the catalyst of moving us forward. Like right now, with them announcing we're like $31 trillion in debt. Like, come on, let's be honest. There's no painless way out of this.
No.
Like there is no easy way out of this. And so who's going to be the first adult in the room to stand up and look at the American population and be like, look, this is what generations of your government has done. This is the point that they have brought us to. I am not going to lie to you and say the State of the Union is well. Like, I'm not going to do that. I am going to tell you this is going to hurt. And we have two choices on the other side of this. The pain is going to come. There's no way we are going to escape the consequences of what we have done as a nation. Like, there is no way we are going to get out of it unscathed. We are going to have to pay for our flirtation with globalism. We are going to have to pay for our abandonment of first principles. We're going to have to pay for what we have done. And it is not going to be an easy cause. But on the other side of it, are those first principles going to rule out because we realize what it's like when we don't have them? Is the system of republicanism going to last because we realize what it's like when everything is actually nationalized? Are we going to come out of the other side saying, okay, maybe the founding fathers actually understood what they were doing when they put this in place, and we might not want to fuck with that again? Or are we going to come out on the other side saying the Constitution is outdated, we need something new, and give, people who do not have our best interest at heart the opportunity to write our history and shape our ideology as a country going forward? And in that, we lose the idea of what America is, what it was supposed to be, and why she was worth defending. And we can talk about the true history of America, the good and the bad, everything that happened, and still love this country. I love my country. But we are in a place right now where it's going to hurt, and we're going to have to pay consequences for what we have done. And the only choice we get in the matter is what we're going to do on the other side of it.
Well, so you talk about this a lot, like challenging people to activate, to get out there and you got to do something. Get with your local people, start in your neighborhood, start at your school board, start with your kids' school, whatever it is. But you've got to do something. How much of, because you talked about all of the different responsibilities that have been shirked, all of the challenges that have gone unmet, and I think kind of the outgrowth of that is something like Herschel Walker, because there's not a roster of deep, really good candidates who have worked their way up by actually going and running for their local school board, running for city council, and doing that work. They just kind of let other people be their savior for them. And so Is that a symptom of that? And how long is it going to take, and what needs to be done to kind of restore that and get back to where you actually have a deep roster of legit people who aren't just grifting, taking the money because they have celebrity status, name recognition, whatever you want to call it, that people are willing to jump on their bandwagon?
I would say I would have an answer for the Black community, but I would say, because I want to talk in a general sense and talk a little shit tonight with you guys.
Okay.
When y'all white people go figure that out?
Oh,
for sure. Yeah,
I
gotta say, in my community, I'm doing it.
If you look at the candidates and what each party is running, they both running some old and decrepit people, and they're if you look at the power structure and the political parties, they're mostly run by some old and decrepit people. And I was watching I don't even know exactly what it was that I was watching, but they were having a conversation about the economy and how, again, we were going to come to a reckoning where we were going to have to understand that there was a price to be paid for all the money that was spent and the abuses of government that were laid out. And the two old white guys had a good old-fashioned chuckle, because they were like, yeah, we're going to be dead when this happens.
Yeah.
And
they're counting on that.
And you have to understand, if you look at the people that are pushing major pieces of our political systems right now, they're all old. They're not going to live to see the full outcome of what they have done. It's going to be left for us, our generation and the generations after us, to figure out what to do with the mess that they've given us. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is I think this is in terms of where you call them like the greatest generation. Like you told them that.
I don't call them
that. And it's not to erase service done. It's not to overlook bravery. It's not to lessen saving Europe from, you know what I'm saying? Like, Nazis, it's not to take any of that away, but you spoiled them. Yes. And you told them they were like, you did what progressives did, and we said, no, you shouldn't raise kids like that. That's what you did to this generation.
For sure.
They could do no wrong. They could not be questioned. They could not be held accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were put in a position that no political force should be able to obtain. And that separated them from us in a way that they were able to make policy legislation that separated them from us in the actual scales of government. And we were supposed to say nothing. You know, we weren't supposed to question it. And you look at it where they're like, well, we paid into Social Security. Well, yes, but you also let government spend $31 trillion
of our money.
Right. So you want me to say hold government responsible for what government promised you, but I can't say to you, I need to hold you accountable for what you let government do.
Right.
What you helped them legislate, what you helped them push forward. So it's not going to be me up here crying about whether or not you should qualify for Social Security. It's going to be me asking you, do you know my 18-year-old daughter is well aware she will never get Social Security, and she is wondering and asking me why at her first job they are taking out money from her check pretending that she will.
Right.
There's
no good answers for that either.
Do you have any responsibility for that? No, but we're supposed to strategically shut our mouth and take your side in this government fight. And and you won't even be held accountable for what you let government do under your watch and your reign. So, and of course, you won't be here to see when it manifests itself.
Right. Well, and they sold them this whole idea of you deserve this because you're the greatest generation. So we're going to give you this. You deserve this and they took it.
And they bought it. I'm asking. So now I'm asking. They sold it to you. You bought it.
You bought it.
Would you buy it again? And if you wouldn't buy it again this time, if this time you would say no, if this time you would turn it away, then you need to be a part of us making that start to happen now.
Yep.
So that you put us on a better road to be able to fix it in the future. So
Absolutely.
At least put us on a road that helps us to get to solving it instead of keeping us on the road of, but it was promised to me. You have some culpability in this. Why don't you act like the greatest generation and accept that? Like it is not too much to. I don't even know how we got on this subject, but
hold on. But
it's fine. It's
question
fine.
With that overall, do you think censorship will have a role in grooving certain thoughts as it's been doing already and making things worse?
The only thing that can stop censorship is the culture.
You have a point.
The only thing that can stop censorship is going to be the culture. And this is why the left tries its hardest to keep its claws into the culture. Because like you remember when Obama said, yeah, we need to go to the avenues that don't watch the Sunday shows. And everybody on the left was like, ha, ha. I mean, everybody on the right was like, ha, ha, ha. No, like that's the truth. Everybody doesn't watch the Sunday shows. So you also have to be able to get your message to them in their arena. That's not pandering. That's understanding messaging and putting your messaging in the proper places to make sure it's being heard by the people that you need to receive it. And understanding that it is centralized. So that's one of the reasons why Democrats consistently use the culture. Here's where Democrats are fucking up though. You can't have a culture by itself. You have to have an ideological, intellectual combination to go with it. So it has to be both. You have to have a thought process. You have to have a way of maneuvering, a way of seeing things that brings you commonality and connection with the culture. And I've said this is why anytime they try to make progressive stuff, they always had to embed conservatism into it. So it was always our principles, but the overarching message was something, some progressive ideology. Now they were like, okay, we did this so long, we in the groove of it. We can take the conservatism out of it. We can take that intellectual side out of it, and we can insert our full woke, full intersectional, full whatever word you want to put there. We can put that whole thing into it, and we're gonna rock. And they did that, and all of their shit is failing. It doesn't work without the intellect. You have to have the intellect. And the problem with the right is that the culture is waking up, but the intellect, quote unquote, not calling them smart, just talking about the ideological side of it. The intellect it is not meeting for the conversation. And I think if you were able to get the intellect to meet with the culture, it would be a renaissance. That's everybody knows that's how
you'd have Hotep. Quite frankly, you'd have Hotep. And I think that one of the things you touched on there, I don't really believe in voting. And largely that's because I don't have anything to vote for. I want to be able to go pull a lever and fix shit. I'd love for that to be the way that we get there. I'd love that. But they have to, you're not going to get there with me.
Maybe we'll get to the point where you can go and pull a lever to make government leave you the fuck alone.
Right.
But you have to understand where we are now. And that's not where we are now.
I agree.
So in order to get us there, that's where the work comes in. Amen. That's where the effort comes in. That's where the need for activation comes in. And a lot of like white conservatives and Republicans that are in white Republican states, they're like, we're disconnected, and like, how do we help? We don't know many Black people, and they're being honest. And I don't begrudge white people that are honest. We don't know, so like, how do we help? And I'm like, you have a majority red state that you're in, right? Use your fucking power of government to actually be able to be like, okay, how about this? We know that the water facility plant in Jackson is about to break the fuck down. How about, as Republicans, we say, no, we're not going to let this happen. Right. We're going to go in and be a part of the solution, because if something goes wrong in Jackson, it becomes a blemish on our entire state. And we actually care about the people there. So after decades of neglect by the Democrats who are actually in charge of this place, we are going to be the ones that come in and fix it. Now, maybe you could have did that instead of funneling money to Brett Favre. And then we would be having different conversations about what kind of reception you're getting in these communities when you try to go and actually talk to them. If we are conservatives and we understand the necessity to solve problems, and I know y'all are not conservatives, I'm just speaking in general, but if we are conservatives and we understand that problem solving has to be at the center and forefront, then why aren't you providing solutions to people? And most people will tell you a good salesman knows to sell you something before you actually need it. And then once you need it, you're like, holy shit, I'm glad I have it. And I bet you Jackson would have loved to be in that position where their problem was fixed before it actually occurred. And they could be like, look, I dodged a bullet. So there are, and I would even say, look at Ron DeSantis now and how he's operating in Florida and making sure projects are moved, making sure bureaucracy and red tape is cut, making sure that that a government is being efficient in its ability. Now he knows he has to do this, because if he doesn't, then the progressive media is going to eat his ass alive. So he knows he has to do it. But look at it being,
but that's the way it should be with all of them.
Look at it being,
we should be demanding that.
But look at it being done. Yeah. So if red states were to start doing, not because the cameras are there, not because it holds some political value. Hey, do it because you care about your Constitution. You want your Constitution defended and protected. And probably one of the best ways to do that is to not have a population within your state that doesn't have drinkable water. Like it just seems to me like that might make a lot of sense for those who want to consolidate and keep power. That one of the easiest ways to do that is actually to be a solutionary and to actually solve problems, and that would go a long way to being able to, like I said, to operate into some of these communities without so much pushback.
Well, even if they're just doing it when the cameras are there, like there's plenty of people who don't do it when the cameras are there, and they get exposed. So, like, I mean, at least like shit, do something. You know, like you gotta at least respect that. You know, because there's
when I was watching them come up to start rebuilding one of the bridges to one of the islands out on the coast, and the people there were like, yo, we weren't expecting this for like 2-3 months. Like that's what we have come to have to accept, and to see it happening this fast, like, whoa. And this is one of the things about Trump not knowing how to pull the levers of government when he became president. So like if Trump knew how to use government, he would have known how to put all of these projects that he wanted on fast track to be able to done quick. Wall built in 4 months. Like, you know, if he would have known how to use the triggers of government efficiently. And I think that that's what you're seeing Ron DeSantis do right now in Florida. He's putting on a clinic about how effective you can use government when you care about getting shit fixed as opposed to playing to the cameras and everything. And that makes me happy, except I also understand that the flip side of using government for good is using government for evil. So if you are that fluid and being able to push the good, I can only imagine how fast you can push the evil. And that's not something that will keep me from supporting you, but it is something that will make sure I keep extra eyes on you. And whatever you're telling me to look at, I'm going to be looking at what the other hand is doing, simply because I know you have the personality type to play either side. So I like to just, it's a matter of seeing people clearly and then marching accordingly. So once I see that you have the temperament to be able to take either side, then I'm going to be looking at you in that aspect and being like, okay, let me make sure I'm really watching everything. Let me make sure I'm really researching everything. Let me make sure I'm staying inquisitive about his entanglement with government, because people will disappoint you. People will always disappoint you. And that's why you have to make sure you are very, very vigilant in some of these aspects.
Yeah, I think the thing that troubles me about DeSantis, because I'm like you, I see lots of things that to like about DeSantis. I want to like him. He was a JAG officer at Guantanamo Bay, and that tells me an awful lot about his character, and that makes me worried. Now, do I think he's going to be better than Biden? A flea's ass would be better than Biden. So that's not a difficult situation. So, but what I want to see, and I know that frankly, you're not a big fan of the Libertarian Party, and frankly, neither am I. But I do like messaging that's coming out of Dave Smith, who is definitely somebody who is not the old person. He's a comedian. He's a good dude, and he's got a lot of right ideas. And what I personally am wanting to see isn't like just being Libertarian Party, just being Republican Party. We should start seeing crossover between. I'm not talking to Sonnie Johnson because she's a conservative. I'm talking to Sonnie Johnson because I fucking agree with her on most stuff, you know, and I want to see these people starting to figure shit out together and work together for common interest, because I don't care about the political realm. I just want my family to not get blown up by Russia next week.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm on. Hotep said something very, very, you know, it sticks with me now. I quote it regularly when he was on my show last time, and that's the idea of globalism. And we had a government that was pushing us towards globalism, and it's only globalism when the globe participates, right? But when you start having large sections of the globe pulling out and not wanting to participate, or only participating in ways that benefit them, shield them, or bring them some kind of stature increase. And I would really say that's like the definition of China, and why China even involves itself with like the UN at all. When you start having large swaths of the globe refusing to participate, so the Middle East, you're losing them. Not only do you have like lost Iran, now you're losing Saudi Arabia because you keep fucking flirting with Iran. So like you're losing large swaths of the globe. So you're losing East Asia, you're losing Africa. The African Union is like, no, we're not taking sides. Fuck y'all. We gonna do what's best for us. We gonna move who is best buds. We're not going in and taking nobody's side. You have South America in just a state of transition where you really don't know what is going to happen. On top of them emptying out and losing vast portions of their population, and what effect like that is going to, like when you start like putting the globe together and realize no one else is participating in globalism.
Right.
It's no longer globalism. It's just Westernism. And that's what we're looking at right now, is Westernism trying to pretend it's still globalism, and to pretend we still have the same power, and to pretend that we still have the same sway. It doesn't mean we're powerless, or it doesn't mean we're not still at the top echelons of what it means to be powerful, but we ain't globalism.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we need to understand that. So we are looking at things that are happening geopolitically, and kind of, if I could steal a phrase for a hot second, it's kind of thinking America first, and start thinking about how do we salvage ourselves after this shit show like breaks apart. Like that is a legitimate concern, and something that serious thinkers should be making sure is at the forefront of any arguments that they are making. We are Westernism. We fail globalism, and it needs to be spoken about. It needs to be accepted, and policy and procedure needs to change going forward, depending on how we look at that and where we see our place in all of it.
Do you think that America and Westernism are so like interconnected now that it's almost like, even if you do America first, it's like in a lot of ways, America has been sort of leading for the last couple of centuries Westernism, that you are Westernism. You are responsible for Westernism as America. So it's kind of hard to you'd have to go a long way back with some really hard, like you were talking about, some heavy repentance for our sins of our past to get back to something that even resembles some of, a more traditional culture like what you have. I mean, Russia, China, all the places, Africa, the places you talked about have like a different view on. That's why Matt Walsh went to Africa to do his "What is a Woman" thing. He didn't go to New Jersey or fucking even Kansas, because you might get a whole bunch of weirdo woke shit from anywhere you go in the U.S.
Well, this right now, to me, the craziest part about everything right now, in America, we have the ability to shape our destiny the way we want it to look, but we can't overlook just what we've done recently. Like, we don't have to go that far back in the past to have some proof of concept about the way we are currently going, and maybe we should, get off of this ramp. And so I would look at, we went and fought a war in Iraq and we lost. We went and fought a war in Afghanistan and we lost. Now we're like going around telling all of these countries, if X, Y, and Z comes and fucks with you, then we're going to take out X, Y, and Z. Really? So as you watch Russia come in, take Crimea. Oh, y'all, okay. Now they've annexed 4 more provinces in Ukraine. And me, don't give a shit about Ukraine, Russia. Let them fight. But if we're talking about our direction as a country, where the fuck are we winning?
Yeah, we're 1-3 in our last 4. If you want to call
where are we being influential? The only area at the moment where America is being influential, if you would call it that, is with the idea of green energy and going green. But that's because It's a globalized thing, and America is putting a lot of the money into the pot. So they're depending on us to be able to pay the way for a lot of other undeveloped nations. So like that's why you still have that commonality in that area. But in any other area, what the hell are we winning at?
Right.
So it's like, is America still the cornerstone of Westernism? Are we? Like, are we making promises to Taiwan that we can't keep?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Are we making promises to Europe that we can't keep?
Yeah, and
I will especially say this. Look, and I'm sorry if I'm running over. I especially say this, like if you're looking at a place like Haiti, right? And what's happening in Haiti with the eruption and the protests in Haiti right now. They are branding the entire Haiti revolution on American messing around in Haitian affairs, American meddling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Blowback.
Where the hell are we winning? And as socialists take over in South America, the governments that stand against the socialists are what? Those are American. Those are where are we winning? And the socialists are still winning and taking over the countries. Like, where is our ideology winning?
Right. It's because we don't believe in the same shit that we used to. You know, one of the things you were talking about earlier about globalism being okay. One of my heroes is Thomas Paine, and he said, "My government is the world, and my religion is to do good." And so he believed in this idea that everybody could be under some big idea. Sure, but that all has to start right back with what you started with. And that is, it has to start in your family. It has to then move from your family to the local community, from your local community onward. The reason that the revolution in this country was successful is because you had people defending their families against tyranny. And we have to get back to that level, to where we are defending our families against tyranny, where we are actually standing up for liberty and justice and those kinds of ideas, instead of standing up for stupid shit that doesn't really matter. I don't care if somebody's gay. I don't care. It's not something that we should be arguing about on the goddamn news. It is something that the people in Washington, D.C. do not give a damn about, as they rape our fucking kids of all of their money, of all of their future, and of all of their hope for the future. So we have to get back to actually believing in freedom. We have to get back to actually taking actions that matter as it relates to freedom. You know, to me, that's the solution.
I'll stand up for, like, it isn't something that I would cover or that I would spend a lot of time on. But if you look at some of the things that some of these groups are doing in terms of influencing kids to, like, when I came up, the way we were taught, yeah, you have insecurities. Yeah, you have uncertainties, but you were born the way you were supposed to be. You built up the character of the kid for them to be happy with who they are. Right. Like, to learn how to love themselves, how to self-heal when the world doesn't treat them right. How to, like, you say, okay, I see, like, this kid of mine is completely outgoing. They're good. This kid of mine is not so. So let me go and take this kid of mine to a doctor and let them manufacture some kind of outcome for them. And then hopefully my kid will reach up to it. No, This is not me even caring if, when you're 18, what you decide to do with your body. But when you're talking about kids, and when did it become wrong to teach a kid you are perfectly imperfect? Everything about you may not be exactly how you want it, but everything about you is exactly how it's supposed to be.
Sure.
Now, when you get to an age where you're older and you say, okay, you know what, this is something I really need to think about, then I am not going to be fighting you on that. But from now until then, I'm going to tell you that I love you and that you're perfect the way that you are, and that I hope you can see for yourself what I see when I look at you, and start to feed. When did it turn into a bad thing when we fed the kids love and we fed the kids self-understanding and we fed them the ability to grow into people that can handle that kind of decision without feeling neglectful or resentful for not understanding fully who they were before they went through the process. So if anything you're going to say to me is, I'd rather love the damn kids than butcher them. And so when you have people that are willing to stand up for that aspect of it, not in a shame way, not in a, any of that, but just actually standing up for that, that is something I can support and get behind. And if you don't have groups that focus on that and step up and bring that to the forefront, then we're going to lose an entire generation of kids to this nonsense. And what they're doing to themselves is irreversible. It's not like it can be a matter of, okay, well, in 10 years, they'll figure it out. Yeah, they might figure it out in 10 years, but they'll never be the same. Yeah. They'll never recoup what they lost. They'll never get that back. They'll never have a chance to have that decision done over again. So I don't think it's out of the question to be like, all right, can we love on these babies before we send them to the doctors? And I think that should be a rational conversation that anybody should be willing to have. And if you're not willing to have that conversation about loving on the babies, then I'm going to question what your true intentions is in this whole conversation. So
and it's also due to the culture. I mean, if you think about it, from generations and the culture and also the education system, it's all been morphed into perceiving this to be much more of an open thing. And you said the only way for us to really change and shift a lot of things is culture. How do you get to a culture that wants to be stuck?
No, the culture right now is being punished. So if you remember after 2008, when Barack Obama was on the ballot, gay marriage was on the ballot in California. And the gay marriage amendment failed. And they said that the reason that it failed was because so many Black people showed up to vote for Obama. And when they showed up to vote for Obama, they voted against the Gay Marriage Act. And that's what ended up causing the Gay Marriage Act to fail. If you look after 2008, that's when everything Black culturally related had to have LGBT inserted somewhere into it. Mm-hmm. That's when that happened. They were like, okay, you're not going to give us gay marriage. We're going to put gay people in everything that you do. So you're looking at a progressive, you're looking at at the top power structure of culture. And I'm not talking about like the people on the ground and how we shape and design that. I see that as something different. But the people at top that make the mass production for culture, those people are the ones that make sure and insert and control this conversation in that way, where they're always putting that in. The thing about it is they're failing. The more they try to do it, the worse the movies flop, the worse they do. Like, and you're like, oh, well, it's because they don't like gay or they don't. No, we supported Tyler Perry when he put on a dress and acted like Madea. It's not a problem with that. It's a problem that when Tyler Perry did it, he was like, go home. Go to the people that love you. Go to the people that can heal you. Work on fixing yourself. Understand what you need to do in your life. All of those are conservative principles that if you went home, that's what your grandmama was going to tell you. That's what your auntie was going to tell you. So that's what we connected with. Was we like, oh, no, we're not going to watch it because Tyler Perry's in a dress. Nah, we didn't. So it is not a matter of that. It is a matter of connecting with something that is true throughout the human spirit, the human experience, and having an appreciation and understanding for that. And like I saw the same thing play out with that movie Bros that they get out now, and it like completely flopped. And the thing, right, or whatever, and they were like, no gay movie can ever, and they were like, yo, you know how much money Brokeback Mountain made? Right. Like it is about the quality of the content that you put out, and are you able to grasp people and to pull them in and to make them feel some kind of connection with the story, even if they're not in your world, you know, or of your experience or whatever. Can you do that? And I think they just pushed past that to that point where they don't think that they have to have the ideology. They think that just the culture in and of itself can stand. And as you see time and time again, it consistently fails. And it's not going to be fruitful, and it's not going to bear fruit unless you have the ideology attached to it. And right now, the ideology that is attached to Black culture is capitalism and understanding how to make money and become the investor class. And Democrats are not offering that with their cultural message, and therefore they're going to lose, and it's going to continue to flop, and no one's going to take it seriously. So like right now, again, they want to play with the culture. So they just put out a video, no voting, no bucking, right?
I saw that. I was like, I'm never voting again then.
It's supposed to be culture.
It's hijacked.
Where was their intellect in it?
Nowhere.
Where is a single policy? Like, and I'm a cultural person.
Yeah.
So like I saw the stripper ad they did, right? But the strippers had a specific complaint. Like they were understanding it was, I forgot the exact law that it was, but they had a specific point of why they were like, okay, this is why we might need to look at this. And then you had the DNC come out with another stripper jump that was just the sex. And I'm like, no, see, there are legitimate issues that strippers might have, and they organize and they bring those legitimate issues forward. Am I going to be like, no, they're not legitimate issues because they're strippers? No. You are an American citizen that has organized a group of people under a commonality that needs to be addressed in grievance by your government. What do you need? And how do we solve the problem that you think is so detrimental within this group that you've organized? But it's some intellect attached to that. It's nothing. It's just baseless exploitation of Black culture. And they're catching the wrath right now from Black America, who said, we want tangibles, and this is what the fuck you do. And it's not producing the kind of effects that they were hoping that it would, I guess. But on top of that, Black men are done with Democrats, and if they don't stop playing with Black men, they're going to suffer very, very devastating effects in the elections to come.
Yeah, and really what it breaks down to, you kind of touched on this earlier, is socialism doesn't deliver shit. You can only, go back to Margaret Thatcher, you can only do so much with other people's money. And
they can do a lot, though. They do all kind of shit with our money.
That's true. That's true. But it's borrowed money that they're never going to pay back.
Right.
And so And I think, at least my experience with the Black culture, I'm not Black, obviously, but I've known a lot of Black people in my time. Y'all don't fucking handle bullshit very well. You get right through it and you break it the fuck down. And so when they see, okay, wait a minute, so we're all going to pay for Jimmy to not go to work, I'm not playing that game, you know? So
and even it goes even further, because what we do is we click up, and this goes to kind of the idea of what people talk about tribalism, right? And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with tribalism. Like, you are supposed to click up with the people that you fuck with, the ones that you trust. So what we'll do it, and this is what I when I get to talk, I like to speak to like these groups of 5, of 4, of 5, you know, of 6, the smaller groups, and be like, each one of you has a role to play and how to make sure all of y'all come out to the same point, right? And this isn't a matter of equity. This isn't a matter of fairness. Like, no, one of you is going to maybe be more financially successful.
Well put.
One of you are going to be more family orientated and being able to see kind of that vision of it. One of you might be more faith orientated, and all of you are necessary for all of you to function. Right. And that is where you've chosen voluntary association. Those are your primary groups. Get your groups. Like, get your groups. Start at your groups. Get to your groups. Develop your groups, and then expand. Keep your group, or keep your circle small. But you can start to expand outside of that to different areas, where you are able. Where you are able to lend them information, they are able to get it from you, from your sources, from the people connects that you have, and you start having this self-fulfilling, or not self-fulfilling, continuously fulfilling cycle of being able to solve problems as they come forward within your own circle. Now, not only do you have that ability for you and your group, now you know how to access that ability for you and your friends, for you and your family, for you and your church, for you and your whatever group you're in. You start to understand how to make certain pieces of a puzzle move.
Right.
You get those individual groups to get that basic understanding, and then you put them in a space where they can connect, keep their individual groups, but be able to access other groups. It's a matter, like, we don't trust everybody. We're not supposed to trust everybody. You don't let everybody in. You're not supposed to let everybody in. We do have a certain standard. You are supposed to have standards. Like, these things aren't concepts that Black Americans don't understand. In fact, they're concepts that we take extremely seriously. Now, if you understand that we take them extremely seriously, why are you suggesting a kind of model for us that takes into account these are one of the things that we would actually respect and honor? Are there those amongst us who will not? Of course, but that's why we choose voluntary association, and that's why we keep that circle small.
Amen.
These are not concepts that need to be explained to us. It just needs to be understood. They're already concepts that we adhere to.
Oh man,
it's organic
preaching, right? I'm like,
so I want to go back to, because you were talking about this issue with like what they're doing to these kids and everything, and the response of like loving the kids rather than the mutilation or whatever, and I want to take that like a step further, because I think it's really important. One of our other friends of the show, alumni of the show, Vin Armani, aka Cyprian, he's been saying this a lot lately. He says their degeneracy is your trap, and I want to like caution people that like sometimes I think that we see so much of this stuff, and we see like evil manifesting itself in the way that some of this stuff is purveyed, and so the response can tend to be, well, lock them all in cages. I saw somebody saying line them up, firing squad style and all this stuff. And it's just like, man, like you be really, really careful, because if you aren't responding to that situation with love and compassion, then how do you feel about the way that people treated you when you didn't want to wear a mask, or you didn't want to do whatever that, the stuff that you didn't want to do the last 2 years, and people said, don't let them go to the hospital, don't do surgery on them, don't ever, ban them from, medical care, make them get their own doctor, all this kind of stuff, let them die. People saying all that kind of stuff if we didn't want to get these shots. And you're going to turn around and become the same monster that you are calling these people out for being, because you don't understand how, like, there's been like a mind game that's been perpetuated on a whole bunch of people, and they get us all in our own different ways. And there's some people who are under a spell, and they're falling for all this shit right now. And the response to that, if it's not something of, instead of doing that, let's love the children. Instead, I see people doing some of this more violent, more reactionary type of approach to it. And I caution people to be very careful, because when you do that, first of all, you can stunt or maybe even completely cut off possibilities for repentance in people who you think are doing wrong. And the other part is, now you have your own pride and your own sins that you've got to sit in, because you're not being a good person if you're treating that situation with some of the hatred and anger that I've seen people treat it with, instead of just the love and compassion that it needs to be treated with, and starting to work there and try to find solutions that work gently towards an appropriate approach to that situation.
And third, having no home training and no basic humanity about you is what leads these groups to pushing for legislation. Once that legislation is passed, then now you have the force of government, and now you're wondering why when you say certain words to certain people, your ass is the one that get locked up while you crying about free speech. So it is, and like that is a consequence of everything that we're discussing. But I would say the primary reason for it is just be a good fucking person. Like,
absolutely.
Like that should not matter about, well, I'm fighting the Dems. Okay, like you can't be more vicious than me. But that doesn't. But I am a good person. I try my best to be a good person. Like, I'm not going to attack. I'm not going to, like, I'll attack you on ideology. I'll attack you on policy. Like, I'll attack you in those areas. But I'm not going to make it personal. I'm not shooting to be vicious. I'm not trying to take a scalp. Like, those things are not important to me. And what I get from Republicans and conservatives all the time is that you don't think your ideas can win, or you don't think you can properly message your ideas. So you think that the only way you can obtain victory is by acting like the people that you claim to hate. And again, I'll say this: I see you as my equal. That means you're going to have to up your game, because what you just admitted to me is the problem in this whole scenario is your inability to message properly. And maybe you need to work on fixing that as opposed to trying to have an outside conversation about how I should be morally bankrupt like you in order to claim a scalp of a person that has no significant part to play in my life whatsoever. Like, no, I'm not doing that. You're not going to make me get in the mud because you enjoy playing with the slop. It does not work that way. And that doesn't mean I am afraid of a fight. That doesn't mean that I am scared. No, it means that I can make my case with my words intellectually, and you cannot. That is the area of definition for us. And it is not an area where I am willing to descend. You will have to come up and meet me. Like I said, I'm not interested in playing that game anymore. The low-hanging fruit, it doesn't satiate my appetite.
And come on, these people think that they can't market conservatism. Come on, Chad, Nico, and I.
They can't because they're hypocrites.
Right.
Right. There you go. It's hard.
Right.
It's hard to put lipstick on that pig.
Right. But come on. Chad, Nico, and I took the word anarchy, which thousands of people think means chaos. And we say
and
it means
they think it means throwing trash cans through the Starbucks window or burning the WTO or whatever.
And we have started moving the needle towards that anarchy means peace, love, and freedom. Mm-hmm. If we
y'all
can do
been
that,
trying to start a white civil war. See, I see what y'all doing.
No, don't say y'all. Don't say y'all. Look. I'm here for like the in-depth spiritual, and then I get a little philosophical. I let them do that, whatever it is. I let them do their thing.
But to Marcus's point,
yo, Nico jumped up there jump quick.
Yeah, I know he jumped up. Nico he'll just sit there quiet, just taking it all in, and then he's like, whoa, wait.
I'm not about that.
Hey, right with this shit. It's the light. It's the light. The camera is lighting my face up a little bit different. But to Marcus's point, like I think the way that. I think 3-5 years ago, if I would have imagined like, all right, what kind of people would be willing to come on a show called Something Anarchy? I would be like, probably not a bunch of the people who we've had on. But I think, some of what we have tried to do is to just be nice people and to not be assholes. And like, man, it's amazing how that simple step can open doors to all sorts of people when you have respect for different ideas and you don't let your brain explode and turn into a cognitive dissonance hypocrite as soon as somebody says something that challenges the way you think about things. Right. And if you can kind of like take that in and be like, all right, let me chew on this for a minute. Let me try to hear what they said. And then, okay. Cause I personally, I came into this thing with Marcus. We met each other 4.5 years ago in the midst of in the midst of a political campaign running for president to try to dissolve the federal government from the top down, just dissolve it and then return everything back to the states. We started off there. And as this thing has evolved, I have started to actually, through your leadership and your counsel, like I've listened to what you have to say, and I've taken that and I've assimilated some of it into like, okay, like she's on to something there. She's got a point. I maybe saw this stuff wrong, that it's not start at the top and dissolve the federal government and then return it to local politics. You're just going to end up with the same shit if you don't do the local shit first. Mm-hmm. And so I have started to activate, as to take your term, at the local level. I'm in some groups with people who are doing stuff, who are fighting against things and who are actually trying to create their own little, like those trust circles that you talked about. And you don't get there if you shut yourself off to listening to people who you won't necessarily agree 100% on everything with, because that's how iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron when it comes into contact with each other.
But that's not even the big thing. The big thing is accepting that something is important to another group.
Yes.
Simply because it's not important to you. Mm-hmm. Right? So this is kind of one of the things, like if anyone looks at how like I set myself up with everything that we do here, everybody that I basically engage with has their own brand. Mm-hmm. Right? I kind of make it that way. I do that intentionally. I want everybody kind of doing their own thing, because we are going to disagree. We are going to have areas where we don't see eye to eye on a specific subject. That's why you have your platform. Right. That's why I have my platform. You know what I'm saying? And again, we can choose voluntary association to come together and speak on the areas where we overlap. Like that's the entire point of it. But what you have today is too many people like want to be the leader.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And in order to be the leader, you have to run the pack. You have to take over. You have to but the thing about that is, but the thing about that is you lose the good ideas of the people that are under you while you're starting to have these, inconsequential squabbles. Like, no, I don't want any of the squabbles. I want you building. I want you growing. I want you shaping. I want you defining. If you're doing something where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not feeling, everybody will know, like they'll get that call from Sonnie. Like I will call you and they'll know, like, I don't call you for no reason. So if I'm calling you, it's probably gonna be a reason why I'm making the effort to reach out to you and start a discussion. And we're gonna talk about it not through social media. We're gonna talk about it like adults between us. I'm gonna come to you, and that's how we're gonna handle it. And then we're gonna go back out, and nobody's ever gonna know that happened. Nobody's ever gonna know that occurred. I'm not going to talk about it. You're not going to talk about it. We go on about our business, right?
Right.
Like that. It's understanding though that if you're over here and you're fighting for, I don't know, peanut butter sandwiches, and I'm like, well, I want to focus on jelly sandwiches, and you're like, well, no, you have to focus on my peanut butter. Right. We're not gonna have a fruitful relationship. If you're like, okay, I'm gonna be focusing on my peanut butter and you're gonna be focusing on your jelly, how about we come together and we have like a peanut butter and jelly kind of thing? We'll have my peanut butter, we'll have your jelly, then we'll have one where we put peanut butter and jelly together. Right. That's the kind of way you organize it and you put some stuff together and you understand. You move with respect. You move with mutual understanding that there are benefits to both of you when this collaboration comes to fruition. You move like an adult. You move like a capitalist. You move like a conservative. And it's not a high bar to obtain, but it is an amount of learning and lessons the hard way that could be alleviated that will help us get to that bar a lot quicker if people weren't having to learn the hard way. These just became regular parts of normal conversation and we embedded ourselves into the culture. The intellect embedded itself into we might get a renaissance, and it wouldn't take us decades upon decades upon decades to start to reverse some of this damage that they've done.
Well, it's all due to how you frame things, just how you just made this peanut butter and jelly reference. Sometimes people don't understand, you can still have your peanut butter and I can still have my jelly. No. You saying jelly, and then they start, as soon as you get to the word jelly, they're like, whoa, did you just use hard?
You're trying to take my peanut butter. Right. Oh, shit, my bad. That's me. That's my bad.
But yeah, it's exactly, or it's very dependent on how it's framed. And it's, I guess, also dependent on who's saying it as well. Because I can say the same thing as, well, matter of fact, you can say the same thing as, I guess, I don't know, Marcus, like in the same context to the Black community. And even though Marcus would still reach to some, you would still be able to reach more to Marcus than anything. Granted, you are Black, but it's still another way you're framing it as well.
Yeah,
Sure.
it does. Yeah, just the color doesn't matter as much as your ability to shape the argument to the person you're trying to reach. It really doesn't, and especially if that audience is being receptive to hearing your message. If you have an audience that is not receptive to hearing your message, then that comes with a little bit more trickery. That comes with a little bit more tactics. That comes with a little bit more of using your gravitas to be able to get yourself across the line as opposed to just straight up intellect. But that's also just a matter of understanding your position, knowing where you are, knowing your audience, knowing who you're speaking to. But the one thing that overpowers any of that is consistency. So if it is a matter of that they can go back, you can go back and you can listen to what I was saying 10 years ago, and you will hear that same concept echoed in what I am saying today. And I have a level of consistency that does not change. It doesn't be like, well, I'm going to portray family values because I love Herschel Walker. Like, no, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not doing that. And you can't even just come out and say, you know what? Both of these fuckers suck, but I have to vote for one of them. Like, you could have literally come out and just said that. Yep. And at least with that, I'm like, okay, you're being realistic. You're being realistic and understanding that this is just the way the bed is made, right? Yeah. But when you have people out there trying to defend it, when you're having people trying to crucify the sun, when you're having people trying to abandon everything that they say that they stand for to be able to rationalize the fact that power is important to them instead of simply stating that fact, then come on, man. These people are serious.
They had a lot of people going at Christian Walker for all kinds of things, saying the timing and trying to put all this stuff, not listening to the words that he was saying, put all that other stuff aside. But he talked about how he is dealing with his father not being around and the consequences of that and what that did to him. And he's talking about the family values stuff and how hypocritical it is to be this family values conservative man.
Yeah, and I don't have no whole bunch of sympathy for him.
No, yeah, I feel you.
He was introduced to the limelight and he liked the limelight and he ate off of it. So I'm still going to treat you like, homeboy, you can be mad at what daddy did to you, but you still an adult. So I'm still going to be holding you accountable for your adult maneuvers. But most of all, the only people that I blame for this is conservatives and Republicans. Y'all keep on jumping on these fucking bandwagons because they give you a tingle up your leg. These momentary tingles you get when he was ripping on Democrats and you were like, ooh, and it never ever registers to you in those moments that shit is going to come back and bite you in your ass. You never ever take seriously that it is fun to laugh at the clown show until the clown knocks you in the face with the pad. Then it isn't so funny anymore. So that's what you were seeing. When he was throwing pads at Democrats, y'all didn't give a damn. Now that he done slip one of them pads up in your Republican face, all of us, no, I'm not doing that. So he can be held accountable. Y'all can be held accountable. Herschel Walker can be held accountable. And the people that I truly feel sorry for is every other state in America if they don't win that seat in Georgia. Those are the people I feel sorry for.
So one thing I want to point out and is that the number one thing that I think is going to scare the living shit out of the establishment is conversations like this. It's conversations where people are coming together, where we have people, going back to what we were talking about a moment ago, where people who do disagree occasionally, because the way I see it, if you're 51% on my side, you're on my fucking side. You're over 50%, you're on my side. And these kinds of things are going to scare the shit out of them because it will eliminate the kind of nonsense that you're talking about. Because
it would if more white people were interested in having these conversations.
I'm working on it.
Probably right.
I'm working on it.
I ain't trying to be funny, but it's only so many times Black people can come to the table to have these conversations, only to be met by white people who be like, does it have to be about like? Again, you can't bring your IQ up to me. Right. I'm coming in, seeing you as equal. You're coming in. Well, do we have to have a conversation of which I know nothing about? See, that was the point. You could have learned something about this conversation before you came in. Or if you did learn something about this conversation before you came in, then you should have came in, sat down, shut up, and listened. But those aren't the options that you take. The options you take is get rid of your jelly and focus on my peanut butter, and then we can have a partnership. And like, I know it doesn't work like that. Like, you keep fucking around, and I'm gonna get into the peanut butter business and come and take your shit on that end too. Like, this is where you're putting me at. You're not putting me in a mode where I'm looking at how we can collaborate. You're putting me in a mode of how I can take your shit over so you're no longer necessary in the equation. Get what I'm saying? And it's a matter of, you know, of that being the case, of being like, hey, Chad, look, I need this peanut butter network kind of set in place, and these dude I'm fucking with over here, he's not providing the kind of. So how can we get you making peanut butter? Because I'm focusing on jelly. I'm not gonna switch from this. This my shit. This is what I'm focused on. But how can we get you over here working in this field so I don't have to spend money with him? I don't have to give support to him. I don't have to give time to him. I don't have to give attention to him. I could fuck with somebody within my network that is able to get me the exact same benefits that I would get, and I would be able to return that favor to them. Am I still gonna be over here fucking with my jelly? You goddamn right. You know what I'm saying?
Unfortunately, when I try to appeal to people, a lot of times they just say, "No, you know what? Screw that. We're just gonna all eat Vegemite." And I'm like, that shit is disgusting. I don't want it. I don't want that shit. Well, like, so I gotta say, you talked about, like, you know, when somebody's kind of, I don't know, they're fucking up or whatever, that you know, you're like, they know I'm gonna call them and I'm gonna talk to them about it or whatever. I just want to say it's a chance for me to do a little self-deprecating humor here. I'm happy that the only time that you have called me was to ask me to come on Sonny's Corner when Greg Gutfeld canceled. So I have to show, I don't know if you've seen this yet. I think maybe you saw it, maybe you did the day that it happened, but this is the text conversation between me and my parents. So it's your tweet. I sent the tweet to them and I was like, SiriusXM at 1 Eastern. My dad, thanks. I will tune in if I'm done with this homeowners association meeting. I love Gutfeld. I'm like, well, he canceled, so I'm not going to be on. And so my dad says, oh, well, love you too. Let me remove the banner. This is my mom. Oh, sorry, he canceled. Like, kiss my ass. One of the worst people in the universe. What the hell's wrong with you people? My parents, I tell them I'm going to be on a nationally syndicated radio show, and I'm trying to get them to listen, and all they have to say to me is, "Oh, I'm sorry, Gutfeld's not going to be on there," and they don't even notice that I'm going to be on there. It's my parents.
He ended up making it. He ended up making it through Sonny's Corner, and we had a real fire conversation, and of course, doing some frequency on going up and getting the join them on Gutfeld. So it's all like, so if you ever be like, where is Sonny's uncomfortable space? That's kind of where I am the most uncomfortable, and it takes a lot for me to, like, it's not that I'm uncomfortable in that space or anything like that, but if you like, I'm funny, I guess, sometimes in the middle of me saying stuff, but to strategically make my content funny, like, that's not something that I'm particularly well versed in. So it's always something that I look at like a challenge, but it is semi uncomfortable because you have Greg, who has a sense of humor, and Kat, and you know, like those people that are regulars, and their thing is funny, their shtick is funny, and you have to fit into being funny. And I know I don't always pull it off because I like have to get serious and be like, no, like this topic and
right.
But Greg knows that about me, and it's something that he accepts. So I'm really appreciative of that. But I really do try to make it funny, and that takes me out of my comfort zone a little bit. So
I guess I'm a little bit. I find you hilarious a lot, but it's usually when you're tearing somebody to pieces.
I was about to say they probably need to. That's what I was going to say. They need to bring somebody on there for you to argue with, and it'll be hilarious. You will
see, because then you know I'm going to start yelling. You know I'm going to start pointing. You know what you're trying to set me up for, right?
True.
You know what you're
I feel like they kind of set you up with some of those topics too, though. Like some of those topics,
have like 2.1 million people watching me spaz out, and y'all are wishing for that. You see,
I'm not doing that. But I do think though that some of those topics they set you up because like when I see the topic come up and I'm like, oh shit, they're about to try to make Sonnie comment on some like security camera footage of some people fighting at McDonald's. Like this is not going to go well. Like so I know what Sonnie wants to say, and I know what she's trying to. She's like, all right, how can I get my kind of like what you did when you sat down with Trump, and you're like, all right, I'm going to say what I want to say, but I'm going to say it in a way that I'm going to get to talk for the whole 7 minutes, and they're not going to cut me off because I got to get these bars off. And so I can see you working in there where you're like, I got to say this, but I have to say it in a way that they don't know what hit him until after it him, and then they're like, "Oh shit, did she say that?"
One of my favorite intros from was when I used to go on Red Eye when Gutfeld still had Red Eye, and he introed me and he said, "It's Sonnie with little chance of anybody else talking."
That is classic. Oh, that's good
sticks
stuff.
with me to this day.
Yeah, but the thing is, they describe. I hope to make it to Hotep weekend next year. I'm hoping to make it there. I don't know. I'm not going to make any promises, but one of the descriptions they had was of that weekend that Chad had and others, because we had a show about it, is they said that everywhere you went, you set up class. And I like that. And that's been the experience that I've had. Yes, Sonnie, you walk into a room and whether it's a virtual room or a real room, and you do set up camp and you begin to teach. But that's because you have a lot to say. And the smart people, and I said this today on Twitter, the smart people like us go, okay, I'm ready to take notes. I'm ready to learn some shit, because you have, what I had a big conversation with a guy this past weekend who was a libertarian, but he was like, how does anarchy solve he's a minarchist, and he was like, how does anarchy solve the slave trade? And I was like, well, the economy would have taken care of that. But he, instead of going with roads and nonsense, he had real questions for me, and he had real things that he wanted to pull and wanted to really know. And that's the kind of thing that I enjoy about you personally, is that you have, and I hope that I have, real intellectual conversation, not just bullshit that everybody repeats. And so for me, I try to appreciate that about the people that we've been lucky enough to have on the show. And you're for certain one of my favorite people. So, and we're kind of aiming towards the end. And I want to say, it has been yet again another epic conversation with you. Mm-hmm. This has been just amazing. I've learned a lot. I will still be processing it like 2 days from now.
For real. And I apologize. I forgot to ask Sonnie how long we had her, and we just started talking and we hadn't stopped. So, but anyway, it's it's.
But I just wanted to answer that one thing that was said and about setting up shop and teaching. It's not really that. It's more, right. Especially when I'm in a space like at HotepCon. I want to test your ideas. Like, I want to see if you believe the shit you're saying to me. I want to see if you are a genuine person or if it's something in your character that I need to be aware. I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at your character and how you're able to handle a conversation, how you're able to admit what you don't know, how you're able to sit in humility and learn from someone else, or how you're able to insert yourself into a conversation and dominate it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of the reasons where I fell in love with Olivia Rondeau the way that I did. Like, you get in a conversation with her and you shut up because you want to hear her define herself. One of the reasons why you listen to Maj, you shut up because you want to hear. It's not a matter of him having more knowledge than you or knowing subject matter that you don't know, but you appreciate
insight. Yeah.
Insight, but you also appreciate being able to see someone clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, one of the best ways for you to see someone clearly is to see how they take a thought, how they think it through, how they process it back out. Are they able to put their own slant on it? Are they able to bring their own experience into it? Are they able to articulate why this matter is important to them in a way that it maybe isn't important to me? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can learn a lot about a person by engaging in intellectual conversation. And that's one of the reasons why fire conversations are at the forefront of what I do. A lot of the people that I bring on, it's my first time having a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to learn a lot about your character during that conversation. So even if I've been following you on Twitter, that doesn't tell me anything. Even if you know what I'm saying? Even if I'm reading your articles, that doesn't tell me anything. Me sitting down and talking to you for 30 minutes, that's going to give me a pretty good picture of what I need to be looking at and taking seriously when it comes to my association with you. So that's always something that's really important with me. And especially if I'm going to fuck with you in any real way, you have to be able to kind of sustain that kind of conversation. If you can't sustain it, me and you are not going to have a relationship. I mean, I don't mind working or helping or like do it, but you're not going to be someone that's close to me until you get that caliber of conversation up. So
awesome. Well,
Nico, you got anything before? Or wait, I'm sorry, Marcus.
I was just saying, I hope that we've delivered because, man, I'd like to have you on again and again and again.
Yeah.
We got into a greatest generation riff, so I think we covered some bases on here. Yeah. I think we're good.
That was a big one. Yeah.
No, I mean, you can't. Sonny's always coming on and sunning us, so it's like it's nothing new. You know, it's always a pleasure and an experience to hear you go in depth about certain topics and also elaborate upon it. I thank you for coming on and blessing me with some of this knowledge. Just like the boys, I am going to take this podcast and run through it a couple of times and digest and see what I can do to implement certain things and thought processes in my day-to-days, because you most definitely are a firecracker and everybody will know when you enter a room. I promise. And it's just prevalent. Like, hey, oh, there goes Sonnie. Like, you turn next and break them. So it's like, I appreciate it and keep dropping.
Oh, I like that one.
Now I got to
next and break them.
Yeah,
I like that too.
Yes, that's actually really good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I guess I'm gonna have to try to finish season 1 of One Piece tonight. Now that y'all
you got a long road, my guy. Like,
I know.
Yeah. You got a long way to go.
Actually, I've been sitting down and like watching like YouTube videos.
Yeah,
it like goes very deep, like how it's elaborated in a reflection upon our world.
I know one thing. They better find this damn One Piece before the show ends. I know. I do know that.
Listen, don't spoil this for me. I mean, I figure it's going to take a while because that's how many seasons there are. But I'm I'm only in episode 5 of season
season.
1, so I got a long way to go.
But when you catch up,
my sons are already making fun of me for watching
and get some love and affection. Whoa to my hubby.
All right.
Much love. Thanks again for coming on, and again, keep being the badass that you are.
Absolutely.
Always. Don't know any other way to do it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
You're very welcome.
Peace.